This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, host Jason Glick. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going pretty good, John. And hey, it's like you're not the only one hanging around tonight.
Oh, wait. We have someone else on the line? Who is it?
Yes, sir. It's Mr. Myron Hampton chiming in today.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, always good to have you around, Myron.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm very happy to be on here, too.
Great.
Yeah.
And what exactly did you have planned for this particular podcast, sir?
All right. Well, a series that I've been following for quite some time finally wrapped up a little while ago. This would be Oak Great's Tenjo Tenge. Now, this series has had a long, fairly controversial, sometimes tortured release in the U.S. over the years. I say infamous because I can't talk about this series without bringing up its initial release by CMX in edited form, which was DC's late manga imprint, and basically earned them no end of ill will for censoring it and not explaining the why they did it in the first place. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just said, fuck that, I'm not going to bother with it. And then you just spent the rest of the time just ignoring the release. Then, flash forward a couple of years later, CMX bites the dust in the most ignominious of circumstances. And then Viz announces they're releasing the series themselves, and even better, they're releasing it in 2-in-1 editions. Which is most likely because after having the series initially released by CMX, they probably rightly figured that people who were buying the series would not want to rebuy the series for the same price. So if this is the reason that Viz released it in 2-in-1 editions, then I am glad because I mean personally, it's like I think this series or just about any series reads a lot better. It's like when you're given in giant chunks to read, and it gives it a lot more stuff to cover, and in this also particularly in this series case, a lot more time to get over some of the slow bits as well.
Now these volumes I noticed are actually slightly bigger than what we're used to seeing out on there in the market. Is that like just the natural size of it? Are they blowing this up, or what's going on there, sir?
Oh, like I said, these are 2-in-1 editions. This is two Japanese volumes for one American edition.
What I'm really talking about is the size of the book itself, in comparison to the other manga you see out there.
That is true. I mean, it's like Tenjo Tenge is released at is slightly bigger than most series. Well, than most standard Viz manga. However, it's mainly probably due to their to the fact this is one of their, at least from their signature line, which is basically their seinen titles. That's let's see, and their signature stuff it does have a larger print scale than their their shonen and shoujo titles. So I don't know exactly why that is, but it could just be like this is something they had to nail down with the people who are releasing it, or maybe they just figure that older readers want their eyesight is so much worse they need a bigger print in order to appreciate everything.
Well, my point being is like it's kind of nice to have artwork that looks like this. On pages, a little bit bigger, I appreciate it. And, if it's a little bit bigger, if they decide to put them out like this. Actually, just for your knowledge, I do have an Inuyasha volume that's exactly the same size. It's actually bigger than the original manga, or at least the collected tankobon.
Yeah, it's like it could also be because they need for some of these for these kind of titles. Maybe it's more cost efficient to really. I mean, for Inuyasha, you mentioned they probably able to save on the production costs because they'd already spent money translating it and localizing it. So they don't have to pay anyone to do that again. So
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but with Tenjo Tenge, like I said, there's certainly a series that definitely benefits from having the larger format to appreciate the art, which is in my opinion argue its strongest asset, and ultimately, and like I said, it just feels weird for me to say this because I'm normally not really an art guy for comics, but I'd say that the art in the series is probably the main reason to read it. But before I get into that, let's talk a bit about what this series is like itself.
Okay.
Yeah, because it starts out because I mean, like Myron and I, we were talking about this before. I mean, there's definitely a real Dragon Ball vibe here.
Yeah, and that's what really grabbed my attention at first. Because growing up, Dragon Ball was always like a fan favorite anime for me, all the action and everything. And in this series, we kind of have that element in which we have, the main character's club, and you have all these different types of clubs, and all these individuals have these special types of powers and abilities. So for me, it was just a real eye catcher from the get-go. Not only the artwork with what you said earlier, which was the nail on the head, the assets, a lot of the female characters.
I see what you did there.
A lot of the female characters in this series, really, and all the characters in general, just really well designed, really well drawn, and it's very action-paced, very comical, and it has this little dramatic moments here and there.
Oh yeah, it's like, and I mean the series itself, it's I guess as mentioned, right, talked about that a bit right there. So, I mean, it takes place in a high school academy. On a high school called Todo Academy, basically a place where all of the martial arts styles in Japan are brought together in order for people to get stronger there. And the story begins one day when two students arrive, Soichiro Nagi and Bob Makihara, arrive on campus and just proceed to like announce that we're here, and they just start beating the crap out of everyone. Yeah, now they're just two young punks who've basically gone around just beating on anyone they can, and they just figured, hey, we want to come here to prove that we're the strongest fighters in Japan. Then they get a rude awakening when they encounter the members of the clubs of the school's Juken Club, led by the sisters the older sister Maya Natsume, the younger sister Aya Natsume, and help me out here, Myron. What's the other?
The guy?
Masataka Takiyanagi.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the younger brother to one of the main series main antagonists. And once they encounter them, things take a turn for the worse. Soichiro gets his ass kicked by Maya. Aya he winds up falling she kicks him right into the shower where her sister is. So once she sees them, Aya falls madly in love with them, much to the chagrin of Masataka, who also has the hots for Aya as well. But the thing is, Soichiro and Bob's their introduction by beating the crap out of everyone draws the attention and ire of the school's Juken executive council, and they see fit to exact some retribution on them, which basically drives the two to joining up with the Juken Club to the council's executive council's natural enemy. Now, I mean, you could form a series about how just these two clubs going at each other for the you could probably form a good series focusing on the rivalry between these two clubs. But you see, that series doesn't really go in that direction, because now, Myron, I know you've also mentioned you've also seen a good deal of the anime as well. So
correct.
We know that doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, after the two clubs clash for the first time, we get Tenjo Tenge is revealed to forward a page to also be of the berserk style of storytelling, in the sense that after you get an introductory story arc, then you get the story of the arc that flashes back to show you just how everyone was back in the day, how all these grudges originated.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go on.
No, I was going to say, now from my understanding, like I said, I never read the manga yet, but with the anime series, it seemed as it was cut short, and that, I mean, the first few episodes seemed to follow the manga a little bit closely, but then it kind of strayed off into, like, it's what you said, like in its own tangent, where it just goes into the background and the history of like these different clubs. So I felt like I didn't get like the whole experience from the anime than I did.
Oh no, that is how the manga goes.
Right. So
yeah, I've only seen about half of the anime, and it actually followed the manga remarkably closely.
Okay.
Yeah, because that whole flashback arc where we find out where we see Maya as a first year, when she meets Natsuka's older brother Mitsuomi, and how they kind of hit it off pretty well. But the problem is her brother Shin, who he's got these powers known as the Dragon Eyes they're eventually passed down to Aya as well. And Shin, for lack of a better word, he's kind of, because of these powers, he's kind of he's basically a mad dog who needs to be put down. Yeah.
Now explain that relationship a little bit more, because what I got from it too, there seemed to be some sort of weird incestual kind of admiration towards the older brother, or it's just kind of like a weird incestual relationship between them.
Well, I think part of that you can chalk that up to these kind of relationships not being not I wouldn't say more acceptable, but more acknowledged in Japan. I mean, that's that kind of relationship between Maya and Shin. I mean, I've seen that in lots of other anime, so it's kind of it's one of those kinds of relationships.
Yeah.
But, as we go on, I mean, we actually do find out that there's this kind of it's hit upon this closeness, just the fact that Shin basically feels that that without Maya is basically his only link to stability. That without her, he wouldn't have a reason to live, because he just feels that he's calm around her. He's not doesn't feel as crazy. But as we find out much later in the story, we get that. We find out that there's actually a more direct reason for why he feels more calm and at ease around Maya. But that kind of relationship, I mean, it's you see it a lot in Japan. I mean, yes, it's kind of weird, kind of creepy, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily a deal breaker.
No, of course not. I mean, it threw me off for a while, but I love the series. I love the cartoons anyway. It's done by Madhouse, who one of my favorite anime studios. So I mean, I love the artwork, but I have to admit, when I first started watching this series, I mean, there was some. I mean, I understand that it has a hentai background and a hentai history, which is awesome, but then when it gets into Bob's girlfriend being raped and a lot of those really brutal rape scenes, I'm like, oh man, it just really threw me for a loop. When I first saw it, I was like, man.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, there's a very fairly nasty rape scene early on in the series. If you remember way back when I mentioned this, the first volume of the series a while back, that's a big sticking point, because it's rendered in kind of with all the taste and class you'd expect from someone who has a background in hentai manga. And yes, I realize it's kind of it's meant to provide it does have a different storytelling purpose. Basically, it's part of the executive council's reprisal for Bob and Soichiro's actions. But at the same time, it's still creepy, still fairly nasty, and it's if you wanted if you can get past, and like I said, there's good stuff in the series. If you can get past that, but still, there's no denying that O'Grady did not do himself any favors by doing this putting this right in the first volume.
Well,
I will say that it does. Oh, go on.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I mean, yeah, I agree with you too, though. But, at the same time, as you progress on through the story, I mean, that scene right there is more of fuel to the fire for Bob's actions and wanting to get stronger. I mean, I remember in the anime when they got their ass beat, Bob and Soichiro got their ass beat by that one guy, and they were like, we need to get stronger. We need to fight. He can't protect his girlfriend at his current state. So they both had their different reasons for wanting to fight and get stronger, but that rape scene was probably the pivotal point for Bob Makihara, and he's one of my favorite characters too. But that was a real pivotal point for him in wanting to build his strength up.
Yeah, and yes, I want to talk more about Bob later on. In fact, like, but also getting back to the that the whole scene right there. But I also realized later on in the manga, you see that, and I guess in the anime, how exactly the Fallout plays out. But you get to that Ogre kind of realizes that he did overstep right there, because you don't see anything quite. Well, okay, let's just say it's a while before you see anything quite as bad again. And also the rapist in question is not only beat down once, but 3 times later on. So you get the feeling that he kind of wanted to okay, yeah, I want to just back off from that a bit. But the thing is, but also getting back to the old past arc, where you see like I said, the history of the Jukin Council thing. That's, for me, that is probably the strongest part of the series. I mean, probably the series' most focused storytelling, some great action scenes, and also a large time focuses on probably one of my favorite characters. Probably my favorite character from the series, Bunshichi Tawara, or Double Impact Tawara. He's basically in the manga. He's basically a super duper senior. Like he's entering his 3rd year as a 3rd year, because he is so wrapped up in the drama behind the Jukin Council's formative years. Usually when things get too serious or crazy, you can always count on Bunshichi to interject a bit of it's like a bit of comedy or bodily odor in order to lighten the mood, or make or just to cut through all the dramatic bullshit that's been building up. So and his presence in this past arc is certainly a highlight, even though the real drama is between Aya Mitsuomi and Chin. So that's basically this past arc, which basically goes until around I believe volume 6 of the Viz release. It's a high point. It's focused. It's focused as a direction and a definite end as well. When things pick back up, though, then we focus on Soichiro Nagi and the realization he's basically it's like the Magabari, basically part of like a fierce creature from the Nagi clan who can eat the chakras and absorb the techniques of any fighter. And essentially, like a lot of this, the rest of the series kind of focuses on various forces that want to conspire to use this power to their own ends. Now, it's from this point on, the series kind of gets both crazy and outrageous in terms of its scope and storytelling. Because you get all these new characters, such as all the Red Feather families, who have supernatural powers. Soichiro's father, Sohaku, who is like ultimately the series' real big bad, and also like all the crazy people working under him, including like people like Madoka Mawari, the series Loli, Swordfall. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that I do like about the series. I mean, particularly as the series gets crazier, the art gets even more spectacular. I mean, you get like O'Great and all of his assistants give us some crazy incredible visuals from I'm seeing Nagi's fighting techniques in action, seeing the the various armors and clothing styles that all the characters have. One guy later on basically has this ability to use particles of dust to make use swords and give himself this armor. In fact, his sister even becomes part of his armor at one point. And then as things go on, we get to the end. We get all these crazy power representations of power, and as Soichiro becomes Susanoo, the ultimate warrior. It's and you get all these this apocalyptic end of the world, fire from heaven type shit. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's fantastic. It's beautiful, and and I swear to God, if this series come out in the 70s, you would have seen this plastered, airbrushed all over dorm room walls or vans. It's everywhere. I mean, it's the art in the series is truly fantastic and mind blowing. It's like it is very much for guys as well, because Great loves the female form. I mean, this is a guy who started out as a hentai artist, and while he's probably grown a bit more restrained in the sense that yes, there's lots of naked breasts, naked butts, and even some hair down there as well. It's like, but this is very much a seinen series, very much aimed at guys. I mean, like, I can imagine there's some ladies who can appreciate the strong-willed nature of the female characters in this series, because even though like a lot of them there are lots of fan service bits in there. There are a lot of the girls do have very very strong roles. They can talk down on the guys, smack them around, and show them what they were how stupid they were acting. So, like I said, this back half of the series, I mean, the series also just gets so crazy overwrought. You start to lose track of all the various plot threads, such as the microchip that has on the data from the Takinagi's family computer, the 2-volume flashback to the Warring States period, where we get some fantastic visuals, but also takes away, but also means we're not talking about the main characters for all this, for a whole lot of volumes, and also, just the fact that we can also do so much time without the main characters is also kind of a problem as well, because while I will say that Soichiro and Bob are nice guys, and I like reading about them, at the same time, a lot of these characters, they and a lot of the cast aren't really defined that well as characters at all. I mean, they feel kind of like beholden to like the whims of the plot. Like they are just like, there's a story here that's railroading straight through all these stories, but at the same time, we don't get a lot of character development over the course of these 22 volumes. I mean, a lot of time, like, they just feel kind of like prisoner to the whims of the plot rather than just defining the action themselves. So like I know you like Bob a whole lot, Myron, but I just kind of felt that I kind of wish that we had gotten more to know more about him.
Right.
Like, yeah, just more about the characters, more about their backgrounds and histories, and just things that just step back a bit to show, like, give them more room to shine rather than just being railroaded on the plot.
Well, yeah, just like you said, I mean, I haven't really had as much in depth to like the series, especially the manga, as far as you have, but I just felt like to me it was short, because I mean, the anime series was 24 episodes, so that's like a season. And
yeah, I think there were a couple of OVAs as well.
Yeah, there was the OVAs too, but I really wanted to have more time with it, or expected more to it. I mean, I mean, you have like those shonen animes, they last forever, like your Narutos and Bleaches and things like that. But you have, I mean, because this itself is, it's not a shonen series per se, but it was an ultimate Jump originally in Japan, like an ultimate.
Yeah, it's basically a seinen series aimed at young men. Basically, it's to go back to the Dragon Ball analogy. It does. A lot of this, especially at the beginning, kind of feels like Great saw it. Hey, there are all these Dragon Ball fans who've read the series when it was coming out, but now that they're older, they're in their teens, they probably want something
more extreme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something more extreme. And it's like I think they should have capitalized on that, because they could have made this series like even way more longer, and then we could have had more in-depth storylines and adventures with Soichiro, Maya, Aya, and Bob. We could have had more storylines.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Great does actually mention it in the end of the last volume, how we talked about there was going to be, how we wanted to do like a kind of wandering the world arc, because in the last volume we found out that Nagi has had to goes around the world like wiping out the people with supernatural powers for reasons that I won't, for plot specific reasons, and this arc would have basically involved them going around the world and trying to, and like following him in his footsteps, but at the same time, though, I mean, we've got like 20 volumes of stuff right here, and I still think that that's like plenty. If he wanted to have really dug into their characters, the man had plenty of time in order to do that.
Right.
So, yeah, I see what you mean, right there. But at the same time, I don't really think that more time was the answer. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I'm glad that he decided to just wrap in 22 volumes. In the Japanese release, 11 over here, so that it didn't drag on. It's like because I mean, I'll be honest, I think that's probably to the detriment of most shonen manga, that a lot of stuff just goes on for fucking ever. Personally, I mean, Berserk, stuff like Berserk, which isn't shonen manga, but at the same time, I hope that it'll end within my lifetime.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't mean for it to be like drag on like a shonen anime, because I mean, I love Naruto and Bleach and stuff too, but I mean, it's so dragged on so long, I can't keep up with it all the time. But I would have liked more, like per se, maybe 50 volumes or something like that. I mean, I like anime that has a beginning and has an end, but and manga series too, so I would just like more. I guess I say more time, meaning that just a few more issues to just kind of like just give me more in-depth details of the characters. And like you said, I mean, he had plenty of time to do so. Maybe because I know in Japan, these guys have to crank out issues like every week when they show up in the magazines. So when they're thinking of storylines, it makes me wonder if do they have the story all thought out already and just drafting it out, or are they just up to a certain point and it's like, oh crap, I gotta think of something. Let me go to this background story real quick, and we'll go from there and see where it leads us from there. So
I get the feeling that O'Grady probably did have certain parts of it planned out because I mean, he certainly had the past arc planned out, had pretty where he wanted to go right there. I mean, even though he says in one of his afterwards that, this is only going to be like a short flashback, wind up being several volumes. Right. But at the same time, I feel like that he really knew where he wanted to go with that. With everything else, though, it's like he was kind of like this. He wanted to throw in like, just if I want something I wanted to do, it's like I'm gonna do it right. I want to do it in this series right now, and it's like. And with that, it's like, where was I going with this? I mean, yeah, it's like. Then he also had that whole flashback to feudal Japan. I mean, apparently that whole thing stems from he's apparently like a huge buff for a huge history, but he wanted to do some stuff in there, like in that era as well. So yeah, I mean, it's like and I said the guy had lots of stuff, lots of room to do whatever the hell he wanted, and it's. Certainly was worth it visually. From a point of a narrative, well, it's like I don't regret it, but at the same time, I kind of feel that there was a lot of room for improvement here. It's like, although I will say that I do appreciate that a lot of the fights here do feel generally pretty well paced, in the sense that they don't generally drag on for an entire volume. They're just like settled within a couple chapters.
Yeah, they get to the point. It's not like, like you said, 5 volumes of charging up or anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. So there's that. I appreciate that right there. But it's like the thing I've just said about all I have to say about the series. I do want to talk about where Viz is going with this. But John, Myron, any final thoughts about the title?
Not necessarily, but I mean. I remember when John got me into this series, you mentioned earlier in the podcast CMX. CMX was, correct if I'm wrong, was that like an anime or a manga division from DC? And
it was their manga. It was their manga imprint.
Keon was.
Yeah, Keon was, and this series is a little bit too racy for them. So, they toned down a lot of the violence and especially a lot of the nudity, and that's why it didn't really take off initially out here with fans. I mean, there is a small fan base of people I know who enjoy this series, but I don't. If I haven't met or talked to you guys, I probably would not have ever heard of this series. It didn't seem to get too big of a buzz out here. Maybe until Viz picked it up, starting to make a resurgence.
Well, apparently it's like the series did apparently sell decently enough for CMX for them to keep releasing volumes regularly throughout the course of their existence. Mm-hmm. However, it is worth noting that the releases that the Viz editions, now that we have a New York Times bestseller list for manga, these editions have actually done pretty well by just seeing them on the bestseller list. I mean, I've seen volumes of this series have reached number 1 on that list.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how this actually translates to volume units sold. I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is because this is a series that is aimed at older readers. They've got enough buying power to just go and buy the volume as soon as it comes out. So you just get all these people buying it as soon as the volume hits stands, and then that's it. So usually a lot of these volumes are 1 week wonders, but at the same time, I mean, the New York Times bestseller list does indicate that there is an audience for this series, and I also hope that Viz realizes this because with the ending of Tenjo Tenge and 20th Century Boys, with 21st Century Boys Volume 2 coming out next month, 2 of their best-selling seinen titles are going to be wrapping up. And there is no indication of what, if any, titles Viz is planning on is going to have to fill their place.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a little depressing, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I'd like to go up and ask them, like, well, yeah, what do you guys got to replace this stuff? And they say, oh, yeah, we're sure we're working on, we've got something, or I'm sure you just have to wait. It's like you get one of those like non-answer.
Yeah. Now Viz is going to be at Comic-Con, correct?
Yeah, Viz is always at Comic-Con. Viz, I think they usually show up each year at AX, and they've also been at Funimation for the last couple of years as well.
Notice.
So, yeah. So I mean, it's something I can always
quiz them about.
Ask them about in person. Yeah, ask them about in person, but at the same time, it's
Myron, you got to go to that panel.
I know, and just start picketing like what's next.
Exactly.
Stand out the booth like a crackhead, like scratching my neck for more manga, like more projects.
Hey, why don't you see if they can sign you on? There you go.
Yeah, exactly. And we can make the misguided adventures of Script Bitch and Tech Monkey.
By the way, real concepts.
Real concept.
On paper.
Yeah.
That's not just a joke he just came up with.
It's about the miseries of work. So.
I think somebody might be able to relate to that.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways. So, outside of what you guys have already said, there's not really much for me to say on this one. Outside of, I expressed maybe a little bit of disappointment, but with the, with not paying attention to our actual main characters, the ones you made us focus on when we started reading. So I share your same sentiments, Jason. But you know what? I'm looking forward to finishing the series myself, and we'll, regardless, I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Okay, so yeah, it's like I do recommend it for people who like fighting series with great art, and also think that Dragon Ball Z didn't have enough boobs in it. So.
Dragon Ball Z for adults.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, and with that, we'll wrap it up. And you have any idea of what you're going to be talking about the next week?
Unless something really exciting pops up next week, is going to be about the ones that got away, stuff that I wanted to talk about over the last year but didn't find the time to write up.
Got it. All right, and we'll catch you later. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Good night.
Always a pleasure, Myron.
All right, you too, sir. Always a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.